Everyone's gonna get the box of look out, this is recording. Uh-oh.
Big sister speaks again.
So what up, everyone coming in here? See the chat. David and Igor, Sam, who's also here on video, Robin, Alexa, there's Joey, there he is, gonna make him a co-host too so he can share his video. Oh man, blowing up, chat's blowing up now.
Yeah. By the way, if you're typing in the chat, make sure you click it so that it says panelists and attendees so that everybody can see it. Otherwise, it just goes to Stefan and I and the other panelists. So make sure you flip to panelists and attendees so everybody can see what you're putting in the chat.
Yes, please. Make sure that I have got, everyone here. Sweet. We love everyone coming in here. We'll start in about a minute here and let more people kind of trickle in. This time it's weird. I don't know, I think Zoom's constantly like changing things, I feel like, but so yeah, switch to everyone basically. Yep, everyone is good. See people coming, India, Nigeria, Israel, from Chico, California, Portland, Scotland, I think I just saw. Got people from Charlotte, Texas, Malaysia, Manchester, South Africa, South Africa, two back to back, nice. Manchester, UK, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Austin, Pakistan, Croatia, Lago Vista, Texas, the moon, always cool. The Aloha State, Indianapolis, Brazil, London, Houston, Canada, Florida, I love it. Rio de Janeiro, Hamburg, Hungary, Minneapolis, Kenya. Love it. Awesome. Craig, your question, a dumb question, but we can't unmute ourselves, Craig. Yeah, you can't unmute yourself, Craig. You're fine. Basically, I'd have to unmute you, which I'm not planning on really unmuting anybody. But yeah, we'll go ahead and jump in here. So really excited to have everybody joining us for today's topic, which is all about basically elements to create killer emails that can increase your revenue by 300%. And a lot more than just that. We've got an awesome panel to get into in a second. We'll talk about sort of the number one type of email for making sales. And we're going to be breaking down a ton of examples as well and looking at those and sort of having our expert panel kind of share opinions and what we think is good and bad about them. And I'm sure a lot of interesting other stuff's going to kind of come from that as well. Before we get to all that, we'll do kind of a quick round of intros for myself, Justin, and our amazing panel. So I'll just start. My name is Stefan, Georgi. If you don't know me, I am co-founder of Copy Accelerator. I'm a direct response copywriter since 2012. I'm an entrepreneur, I've done a lot of things. Started Copy, like I said, in 2012 after my now wife kind of introduced me to it. I met her in 2011, but I didn't start writing until 2012. Was all over the place as a freelancer, having feast and famine months, all of that kind of stuff, but eventually figured things out and got pretty good. And, since then I've gone on to start multiple companies that have done 7, 8, and sometimes even 9 figures. I'm actively writing copy and controls for clients. I'm partnered in a new supplement JV with a company that does over 60 million a year. And we just launched the first of multiple new offers we're doing. And that one's actually already taken off and starting to scale. But, just basically love copy, love marketing, love running Copy Accelerator with Justin. And I'm excited to be here. And Justin, I'll let you go next.
Awesome. So my name is Justin Goff. I'm the co-founder with Stefan of Copy Accelerator, where we coach copywriters and offer owners on how to make more money, how to scale offers, how to write better copy, stuff like that. Similar to Stefan, I've actually been doing online marketing since 2004. I was like a sophomore in college. I started doing affiliate marketing. I was in the poker niche back then. Did that for a few years, started writing copy around 2008, 2009, struggled for a couple of years doing that as a freelancer, finally put out my own offer back in 2010. And that became one of the biggest offers on ClickBank that year in the fitness niche. Since then, I've built 4 different multi-million-dollar companies. including info products, supplements, and then now the Copy Accelerator Coaching Mastermind. And yeah, today this is my main focus, Copy Accelerator, where, like I said, we run events, we have a mastermind, we help copywriters and entrepreneurs and offer owners and marketers, teach them how to increase conversions, scale offers, all that kind of good stuff. So that's a little bit about me. Tanner, you want to go next?
Sure. My name's Tanner. I'm new-ish to copy, or I still think of myself as new, I guess. I started writing email copy probably like 4 years ago now. I was one of the first people that Justin mentored and kind of got me started. So yeah, I've kind of written emails in a lot of the big, or for a couple of the big health companies like Natural Health Sherpa and now VShred, and then recently started branching out to long form VSLs, Facebook ads, and just other kinds of stuff. But I have managed lists and written copy for a lot of different lists. So excited for today's call.
Awesome, man. Sam, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I also consider myself new. I'm always here to learn as well as help others. Essentially, I started my journey back in 2018, and I built my business, had my breakout into 6 figures strictly on emails and Facebook ads alone. So that's part of why I'm happy to help you guys, because I think a lot of people don't realize how lucrative it can be just to narrow in on this one topic. I've written the gambit as far as different niches and all that kind of stuff. A lot of my bigger successes have been ghostwriting, actually, so I can't share them, unfortunately, but I am looking forward to sharing what I've learned. I've also, just like Tanner, begun branching out now into long-form sales letters and like big ideas and unique mechanisms, that sort of stuff. So I like to bring that into my email work as well.
Awesome. Cool. Joey, go ahead and introduce yourself next here.
What's happening? So I'm Joey. I fell into the copywriting and marketing world. I don't even know how long ago, probably, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago. I started in the health and fitness space. I coached, was a strength coach and trainer for, I guess, like 8+ years. That's what I went to school for, grad school, master's in exercise science, all that fun stuff. And then I realized like I didn't know how to sell stuff, which sucked to grow your business. So that's how a friend introduced me to copywriting. And I did that for a bit, grew my fitness business to 6 figures pretty quick doing that. And then realized I just liked the act of writing and not delivering on the other fitness side. So I stopped doing that first year as a freelance copywriter. Hit 6 figures within the first year. And since then, wrote everything, but I went the opposite way. I stopped writing all things and pretty much only write email now and do list management. And I just help people build like custom email game plans based on their business and priorities and stuff. So that's pretty much it. And then I just play golf other than that and kiss my baby.
Yeah, I'm golfing with Joey tomorrow in New Jersey. I'm so stoked. I can't wait for it. We're gonna crush it. I'm gonna rub his head for good luck before every single swing I take. So should be really solid. Troy Ericson, saving last but certainly not least. What's up, Troy?
Hey, what's up? I'm honestly like so stoked to see all these familiar faces popping up in the chat. Appreciate you guys showing up. If you don't know me, I'm Troy Ericson. And roughly a couple of years ago, I stumbled into a Copy Accelerator event by accident because one of my clients gave me a ticket to it. And at that time, I was running like Facebook ads and just like writing some copy, doing a little bit of everything, funnels. And at that point, I was making like 4 or 6K a month, like doing okay, just happy I didn't have a job. And I stumbled into one of these events, got paired up with a bunch of cool people, learned a ton, and then eventually I got some, clients out of it. Today, I work with companies like VShred, Rich Sheffrin, Snow Teeth Whitening, Traffic and Funnels, a lot of those people. And it's all thanks to this circle. And where I kind of specified after, starting in Facebook ads and then writing email copy, I got into email list management and email deliverability. So being able to get people out of spam, get people out of the promo tab and write good copy has been my bread and butter. So I'm happy to share a lot of stuff about that today.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, super stoked to have our panel here, and we'll dive in. The way we're going to do this is I've got some sort of notes on the elements of a successful promo email and a few other things. And then I just want to look at a lot of examples and kind of share what works about them, and in some cases what doesn't, like why I don't think they're a good example. And we'll have the whole panel kind of chiming in as well on that. So to start, I'll go ahead and share my screen. I've got a really fancy Word document. Doesn't even have a title, as you can see here. Document 33 is the really sexy name of it. But really, like, I wanted to share, and I actually want the panelists' intake on this, and we're going to look at a bunch of examples because that's the best way to teach, I think. But I was thinking about, for me personally, when I like the 5 elements of a successful kind of promotional email. So promotional email being something that is promoting your offer or product or service, or as an affiliate and you're promoting somebody else's. Like, what are really the biggest elements? And to me, like, curiosity is almost always a necessity. I think curiosity is just so important. We're going to look at examples of what that looks like. But we need people to be curious from the subject line through the body copy. I think the best emails are starting in the action. So we'll look at that and what that means. But basically it means like you're not kind of setting up a whole story. You're starting in the action and at the most interesting part. You tease.
Stefan, can you make your document bigger?
Oh yeah, so I have 170, so I thought it was big enough. Is that better now?
Yep.
Cool. You're teasing something in the email, but you're not giving it all away. So you're teasing a solution, but you're not over explaining what it is for the most part. You're selling the click, meaning you're telling people to click, but you're also selling the qualified click. Jared Harlan made that distinction for me recently. That was a really good point, because like you don't just want everybody to click. Actually, you want people who are actually qualified to click on the link in the email to go to the sales page or wherever the email takes you. And then the call to action is really clear. It's not like a mumbled mess, but it's very clear. Click here to discover how blah, blah, blah. Those are kind of my 5 big elements. And again, I'm going to pull up a ton of examples. I did want to, I'll start here for our group. I mean, do you guys feel like that's a good list, or do you feel like, because you do more email than I do in some respects? I email every day to my list, and I obviously do write lots of promo emails. Do you think there's anything else that should be in my 5 element list? I actually want to open up there. Feel free to just, if you're on the panel, chime in.
Yeah. So I mean, the one I would add, which I think is actually the most important one from running a ton of email stuff, is how relevant the offer is to your list. Really nothing makes a difference more than how dialed in the offer is compared to the list that it's going to. And that can be very obvious, but it also can be not so obvious. So I'll give you a good example. Like on my list is not that big. There's only 4,000, 5,000 people on it. When I promoted David Deutsch's course last year, I made about $6,000 or $7,000 in commissions from it. When I promote my own offers, they're making anywhere between $250,000 and like $400,000. Completely different league in terms of revenue, completely different response from the list. And it's basically that one offer is much better for my list, which is obviously a product that I created myself because people want to learn from me. But that same thing happens on big kind of general list as well. Like if you have a list that's weight loss, most likely going to have weight loss offers do really well to your list. If you have a survival list, just basically whatever they came in on is probably going to do the best to the list. But like I said, it's one of those things where like an offer can be great, but if it's not the right match for your list, that above all, I think is the most important thing by far.
Yeah, I think it's a great addition, and it's been added to my thing now. Sam, Joey, Troy, Tanner, anything else you guys think that I'm missing here of my little personal list of the key elements?
The other thing I was going to say, and Troy will probably back me on this, is just get your deliverability, getting it into like the primary inbox is going to make a big difference too. These are more like obviously copy elements, but that's something we're probably going to talk about too. So might as well add it on there.
Yeah, totally. And then the last thing too, I mean, this one probably fits into several, but congruency, right? So like making sure the subject line, the call to action match up and they make sense, and people really understand what's going to happen when they click the link. If you leave it extremely blind and they don't know like where they're going next, like confusion is, a really like a big sales killer.
Yeah, it's a great addition as well. Yes, it's super important.
So even clarify confusion, I'd say probably one of the biggest mistakes or problems that I see with copy is there's not one big overarching concept or idea. So call it the big idea or whatever, but it's just like a bunch of things jumbled into an email. And it's like, well, what's the main feeling or the main idea you're trying to get across to someone? So that, and that's probably the hardest, I think, for copywriters to do, because they want to say a lot of things and then end up saying nothing. Just like, I don't know what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sam, please.
Yeah, sorry. I agree with everybody here. You guys made like basically all the points that I was thinking of. In terms of concurrency, the one thing that I might add too is like not only just your subject line and your CTA, but the more your CTA matches exactly what they first see when you land on the next page, that completes that arc even more for them. And then I think it might seem obvious, but I think it's really important, and I see people miss this a lot, is email is probably the most personal kind of like advertising and marketing we can do. So it's really important that when you write emails, you write like a person. Like, yes, there is, you want to be succinct and you don't want to have too many words and that kind of stuff, but you do need to have a personality and like a person. And I found like your best subject lines look like they're coming from a friend, with that element of curiosity as well. So writing like a person and having a personality it doesn't matter if you're a big company or not, if there's a personality underneath that copy, I think that really helps, especially in email.
Cool. That's a great addition. Awesome. Cool. So we've got these elements here, and we're diving into examples and a few other types of emails that work really well, and we're going to look at examples of all of those as well. And I'll explain what they are as we look at them. Are contrarian emails, sense of urgency, topical, credibility, so like experts or social proof, and sometimes educational. And I'll explain what I mean by those. But I really want to just dive in and look at a lot of different examples of emails and kind of go from there. So let me find one of the favorite ones that I saw recently here. Actually, this one kind of got two. It's one that like kind of gets checks a couple boxes. I got this. This is actually a political email. I get a ton of political emails to my promotions tab, but I love the subject line on this one, which was "They can kiss an overworked Black woman ass." So like, if you want to talk about like, you know, kind of curiosity, right? Things like that. Immediately seeing that, I was like, what? And like, I opened it and like, I knew it was probably gonna be from a political campaign. Now, once you get in it, it's got a lot of that sort of standard political campaign type formatting, but let's just read this one, right? Stefan, it was a ton of fun being on Real Time with Bill Maher last week, but when he was reading off all the crazy things the right wing were saying about Simone Biles, I only had one response. They can kiss my overworked Black woman ass. Click here to check out my segment on Bill Maher, then donate $15 so I can continue speaking out for my Black sisters and fighting back against right-wing extremism and racism. You got the link to the YouTube video. Black women carry so much on our shoulders, and let me tell you, it's even harder when the entire world's expectations are upon you. So when Simone Biles, right, and Naomi Osaka took a much-needed break for their mental health, they proved that a Black woman's rest is revolutionary. If the right-wing extremists want to come at Black women for putting ourselves first, well, as I said on Bill Maher, they can kiss my overworked Black woman ass, Stacey Plaskett, who I had no idea who Stacey Plaskett was. But then I went and looked, and basically she's a representative for the US Virgin Islands, I guess. But for me, like, I think for the biggest thing for me on this one was like the subject line, but then talking about what you guys talked about, the congruency, right? If the subject line is they can kiss my overworked Black woman ass, like you get the payoff for that pretty quickly too, right? So there's a congruency from this to this. It's obviously topical, right? It's talking about Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka and you know, her being on like a recent thing that happened with Bill Maher. So there's a topicality to it. The call to action is a little bit long for me, usually like a shorter call to action, but I honestly don't hate it in this one. I mean, it's a little bit incongruent of like, check out the segment, then give me $15. But it was, give me this, politicians are always asking for money, right? But it's like, so I can continue speaking out, you know, and fighting back against right-wing extremism and racism. So it is actually pretty congruent. The call to action is congruent. I like that there's like a link right in the video. And, you know, another call to action here, although this one, she doesn't actually say click here, but, you know, you kind of know it's a link. So I actually really like this email a lot overall. For a politician, I think this is probably the best email I've ever gotten from like a politician, just because like I like that. And it's personal to Sam's point too. It's very personal. And like, you know, I don't know, I'm sure this got a lot of opens and really did quite well. But I wanted to curious to hear everyone else's takes on this as well. But like, I personally like this one a lot.
I'm curious what everyone thinks about where it says donate $15. to me, it's like that was kind of good because it gives a very like clear instruction. And I find whenever you are very like clear about what you want people to do, it works well. But I feel like they're probably losing some amount of people who are like, donate $15. Like, where the hell did that come from? Just like comes out of nowhere. And it's like, yeah, go here and give me money. It's how it comes across. So it's not as like personal as it could be around that, I think.
I might have played up that controversy too, like because he was talking over real time with Bill Maher and like knowing his sort of slant, right? They can kiss my overworked Black woman ass. Click here to check out my segment with Bill Maher and see his reaction, stoke that fire, and then have the donate $15 as the CTA on the page right underneath the video is kind of how I might have thought to do that, just to keep things like really simple and like streamlined. Because yeah, there's a little bit of there's like 2 CTAs, not CTA.
That's a really good point. And to add to that, I know Justin's big on images and he's probably going to talk about that later. But if there was like her face or like Bill's face, like, oh my gosh, like what's happening, what she's saying, then they would probably get more clicks as well.
That's a great point too. The thumbnail could be way stronger. Go ahead, guys.
Stefan, do you want to keep talking about subject lines for a little bit?
Yeah, I do. I want a second, but I do want to just to finish the thoughts on that. I mean, I do agree on that, the call to action being sort of abrupt and like kind of like if she sort of was like, going in, getting people more like fired up for fighting, like fighting back and then asked for the $15 or whatever, I think that could have done better too. But one thing I know, I saw Lucas was saying about kind of topicality. So I do have that on my little criteria here, like topical, right? I think that's important. One thing to me that's actually crazy is I searched my Gmail in preparation for this call. This will tie into subject lines, Justin. I searched for Simone Biles, right? And I literally don't have a single email. This is the only email in all of my Gmail that mentions her. And given like how much everybody was talking about her, how like, how big it was, who were posting on Facebook and all of that, to me, it's like, that's crazy. How are you not like, sort of like, there's so many ways you could be talking about her and then tying it into like other, like, to other stuff too, right? Like, well, like, I mean, you sell like a stress supplement, right? Boom. I mean, how do you not Simone Biles? You sell like coaching, you talk about her and mindset and knowing what's best for you. And there's so many ways you could have tied what happened with Simone Biles into your product or service, and everyone's talking about it. And your open rates could have been so high. But like, yeah, somehow like nobody was talking about that. And honestly, the Olympics in general, I searched the Olympics and very few emails talking about the Olympics, which I thought was really surprising. Because again, topicality is really strong. If everyone's already talking about stuff like this and they have an email, then people are much more likely to want to open it and be a part of it. As far as subject lines go, for me, I basically feel like the 3 things that subject lines, the best ones have generally are, curiosity, relevance, as in going back to congruency, like that the subject line is relevant both to the market, like the prospect who's getting the email, and then it's connected to the actual body copy of the email, that there's like a relevance between the subject line and the body copy. And I think specificity is really important for subject lines as well. And those are really my 3 things that I think are most important. There's other stuff too, but like for me, more than anything, curiosity really is king for subject lines. Cause like my take on it is always the number one and only purpose of a subject line is to get like a qualified prospect to open the email and read it. That's like literally the only thing it's supposed to do, right? It's like want the people to open it and then read the body copy. And the body copy's job is to get you curious, or interested enough or fired up enough or whatever it is, that you click and take whatever action is being requested in the email. Usually it's just get you curious enough to click to go over to like a VSL or a text sales letter or whatever. That's how I view subject lines. But as for our panel, I'm happy to hear what other people, think about like or elements of that are important for subject lines as well.
Stefan, can I share my screen real quick?
You can.
All right, can you guys see this Word doc?
Yeah.
So this is a lot of curiosity headline, or a lot of curiosity subject lines, what Stefan was just talking about. Curiosity is my favorite kind of subject line for sure. This one ran for a long time in the health niche. 71-year-old woman poops out 48 pounds of fat with this unusual nutrient. It has kind of every element you'd want. Curiosity, specificity, 70-year-old woman, 48 pounds of fat. It has a lot of just kind of shock value to it. Everything about it is just a great subject line. That's probably why it ran for at least a year. This one from BizOp Niche said, this ad made me $1,000 a day for 3 years. Great one. Retire rich on just 3 stocks. That's just oozing with curiosity. That's really what you want with a good curiosity email. Like, you have to open it. Actress reveals the bathroom trick that makes her feel years younger. FDA issues dire warning about antacids. That's one I wrote that did really, really well for it was for a probiotic. This chocolate is 15 times healthier than kale. Again, that's just like kind of shock value, interesting, controversial, but a lot of curiosity. Why did Fox News clear the schedule to put this doctor on TV? That was one I wrote a couple of years ago that absolutely crushed. One that Krista Dodd runs a lot. I see in the dating niche, send this 3-word text to a man when he pulls away. So just kind of, like I said, oozing with curiosity. And you always want to have curiosity in your subject line if you can. I think it's probably the most important part of a good subject line.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I strongly agree. And with that being said, let me show some more examples of things for curiosity. And I saw people talk about specificity in there too. So answer that. So I was looking at this one. Ignore the body copy to start because there's actually a lack of congruency sort of. But this is from Meredith Shirk's list and Svelte. But the subject line of add a quarter tablespoon or teaspoon of baking soda to coffee does these 4 things. I thought about that and at first I'm like, well, is that really like that good of a subject line? But I actually really like it. And so you're curious, like, what are the 4 things it does, right? There's curiosity, and also why are you adding baking soda to coffee? But there's specificity, and that is add a quarter teaspoon. It's not saying just add baking soda to coffee. A quarter teaspoon is immediately a little bit more specific. And then even though it does these 4 things, like there is a lot of curiosity there, because as I read that, I'm like, well, what are the 4 things that it does, right? Like I personally want to know, is it like it speeds up my metabolism? You know, maybe like does neutralizes like the acid in coffee? Like what are the 4 things? Where this one for me, I mean, this is part of like, she's like basically has like a health blog article about 4 benefits of adding baking soda. And then it goes into like a, like sort of, you know, lose 62 pounds of fat and reverse type 2 diabetes type, like affiliate offer type thing or whatever, in the actual email. So to me, like that's part of her style of that newsletter, I guess, is like, you know, send like your article and then sort of have like an ad with like an affiliate thing to make money from your list. I get it. But I honestly feel like this could be a really interesting creative in its own right. If you did something around that too. Panel, anything you want to add to this one as we rifle through examples?
One note on those. That's a style that Mike Geary and them run a lot. And Mike actually told me that in a lot of cases, when they're able to get a really good topic for the subject line that they use in that kind of first article, this style actually will outconvert just promoting the offer. Like obviously the idea is for people to click on the offer below and make sales that way. But he said sometimes even with this on there, it'll outconvert just a straight offer, which I found pretty fascinating because the subject line is so good and so unique, and they can't do that. They can't get the really unique subject line without it kind of linking to that, whatever that first article is. So it's a pretty interesting way to do email.
That is a really interesting strategy. I like that. Has anyone else ever, Tanner or Joey, have you guys ever done this sort of style email before?
So yeah, we've actually had we've tried kind of the newsletter digest style stuff at Sherpa. So I didn't mention I write all the email copy for National Sherpa. So we've tried this before and tested multiple different ways for it. It's actually been really hard for us to find digest styles that significantly outperformed one of our just single control emails. It could just be like actually testing this again next week in different ways, more ways. Always trying to get like be best practices. It could have just been the controls are just way stronger, but yeah. So that's been a hard nut for me personally to crack. But I definitely see people doing it. So you know they've got it working on some level, right? For sure.
I think the other reason that's sort of understated that this subject line works so well, even though it doesn't seem like it's not like powerful and benefits and everything, is it's a subtle undertone of disgust, which is really powerful. Like why am I going to put baking soda in my coffee? That sounds awful. And then 1/4 teaspoon could either sound huge to some people or like a teeny small amount. So that when you're like does 4 things, you're like, I don't understand.
Yeah, that's a good point too, actually. Yeah, I mean like I don't want to put baking soda in my coffee, but I'm curious why I should, right? Yeah.
Putting like anything in your coffee, like just that idea, it it does well. People are like, oh, putting things in coffee. It seems like, I think maybe it's because it sounds so simple, but always see stuff do well with like putting this in your coffee. And yeah, with the specificity, like Sam said, you see the same thing with like 2 drops, or like, take 2 of these in the morning. Like just adding that usually does a lot better too.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing with drama as well, depending on the niche, right? Like if you say something that's just like dripping with drama and people are like super nosy and they want to hear what's going on with like a celebrity or somebody else, or like a weird text message that was sent, people are nosy and they want to see that stuff. So a lot of times you just have to, like when you're writing the email, you have to think like, has the reader probably heard this before? And if they have, they're probably not going to open it. But if it sounds new, they might. Then one other kind of off topic thing, if you Google like blank preview header code, there's like this thing that you can paste in and it'll make your preview text blank, which when you look through an inbox, like a Gmail inbox, everybody has a preview header and it's just like completely cluttered. But if you take that out, there's just like a white like blank line right there next to your subject line, and your eyes just like go to it. So definitely try that out if you have.
It's a dope little tidbit. Nice little tip there, Troy. That's sick. Awesome. Cool. Let's look at another curiosity one, or a couple more here. This one's from Ann Stanley, who will be speaking at our Scottsdale event for Copy Accelerator. I think this one was pretty cool. It's he gets paid $1,324 every time he says this word. So going back to, again, curiosity, like that makes me super curious, right? Like who is it who's getting paid this much money and what's the word? I immediately want to know. So I really like the subject line from Ian. And then this one starts out like, this is one of my favorite stories I've ever heard about an actor's career. I don't know if I want to read the whole thing, but basically it talks about how Owen Wilson gets paid $135,000 for saying the word wow. Right? And all I can say is wow. And then like, now I don't make $1,324 to type a single word, but I do make $1,500 to write a single email for a client. I make more than that when I write emails to my own list. That's cool and all, but what's cooler to me is that my students in 90 Days to Freedom are getting paid anywhere from $50 to a few $100s per email within 30 days of joining the 90 Days to Freedom program. And that's what his email is ultimately selling, is this program. I think what I like about this email, besides the subject line, is like, I like that there's a good transition. It goes from sort of like Owen Wilson, and it makes sense, but it doesn't feel weird that he's now transitioning into his program, because he's talking about how, he gets paid all this money, here's how much Ian makes, but even cooler, my students are making money too. And he has an example like Eru, who had never run emails for other people, is making $135 per email. He's got a proof element with a screenshot of Eru talking about how he's making $135 per email. And like, this could be you, right? I want those types of results for you. In my 90 Days to Freedom program, I'll show you exactly how to leverage the skill of writing emails to turn it into $5,000 to $10,000 a month or more in your pocket. If that's something you want in your life, make sure you apply for the program if you haven't already. Click here to apply now. That's all I've got for today. Talk soon, Ian. I want to be the next Owen Wilson Stanley. P.S. Here's a rather hilarious compilation video of all the times Owen Wilson has said wow in his movies. So going back to the personality aspect, Sam, again, like obviously Ian's email has a lot of personality. I like that it's just like a really clear call to action. Just click here to apply now. It's not overcomplicated. I like that there's the credibility and proof element in it with Eru. And I guess I said he, I think, but she, right? I think, which is awesome. So yeah, I don't know. I think this one's a nice example of curiosity as well. Anyone want to add anything to this one before we rifle through more examples?
It's a great example of an email that you see on Guru List, where it's telling a really good story and then tying that in with the product you're eventually going to pitch them. One thing we talk about a lot, Guru List operate very differently than your traditional broad kind of market list, like health, financial, dating, stuff like that. They're much more personality driven. They're much more personal. Like anybody who's on my list and Stefan's list, you'll notice that from the way we write our emails, very, very different. We're usually not trying to squeeze every penny out of every single email. It's just kind of a very different approach. But this is a great example of storytelling and with a pitch at the end, though.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Also, just as a side note, I put it in the chat, but there's a level of, he's training people to click either way, whether they're buying or not. Like usually you don't do 2 CTAs, but what he's doing is click here to buy this thing, and also here's just a fun thing to click in general, just so that they click. And that's going to be really important with the iOS changes and all that kind of stuff as well, to get people just clicking in general.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, Troy, let me ask you as the resident deliverability expert. I know you're getting people to reply to your emails, right? Is like obviously really helps with deliverability. Is if a lot of people are clicking in your emails as well, does that have any impact? I know open rates do as well, but do clicks help with deliverability?
Yeah, 100%. So basically, there's a whole bunch of like engagements people could take with your emails, right? Like positive or negative. So positive, they open it, they click the link, they reply, they favorite the email, they forward it to somebody, they whitelist it. If you're in spam, they hit not spam. So there's all kinds of good things. And there's all kinds of bad things too. Like if people delete it before reading it, if they hit, this is spam, if they never open it anyway, if they, there's like all kinds of different things. So all those things and your history of those things make up your domain reputation, which then dictates like your deliverability going forward.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Sweet. All right, cool. Let's look at some more. Let's see here. This is a really basic one from TNC. They announced their headline speaker, which world famous rapper is speaking at TNC 2021. Spoiler alert, it's Snoop Dogg. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I sort of feel like not that excited about Snoop Dogg. I feel like they're more excited about Snoop Dogg than most people are. Like, I feel like they're like, wow, we got Snoop Dogg. But I don't know how many people are like, oh my God, I can't wait to pay money to watch Snoop Dogg talk about business. I could be wrong. I'm not trying to hate. I'll be a part of TNC, but like I put a post today, and then when they said now Martha Stewart's joining him, and that actually is like way more exciting to me now. I'm like, oh well, Martha Stewart, that's tight. But they had some other emails that were like Snoop Dogg is speaking, but like that to me was like sort of like whatever. But then at least this one, there is a curiosity element to it, right? Like you're like, all right, well, which speaker is it? Like if you're in this universe and you're like potentially gonna go to TNC, you're gonna open this email to see. And so from there, it's a very, very basic email, just like in case you missed it, right? Snoop Dogg speaking. Call to action is to lock in your super early bird in-person or virtual ticket. And then sort of just like has a little more stuff about Snoop Dogg and tells you to register. But we don't spend too much time on this one, but it is good. I mean, the curiosity aspects there, it's way better than just telling me that it's Snoop Dogg, because like I'd much rather like want to know the answer and open it. So that's what I want to do. I'm gonna go to some bad examples in that too. I want to show one more from my curiosity folder here, and then we'll get some bad examples and we'll talk about why. This one has been running for a really long time. Windex trick sharpens eyesight and better vision. There's been some variants of it, which I'll share in a second here. But what I like about this one is like Windex trick is interesting. And that actually is very congruent. If you have like foggy vision or blurry vision or bad vision, you immediately understand with Windex trick, you understand what Windex does, right? What does Windex do? It cleans glass. It makes something clearer. So, this idea of like a Windex trick is like, it sounds kind of easy, but it's also like, I'm like, well, what is this Windex trick? It's not actual Windex, right? Obviously, but like, what is it? The mental image, like it really makes you, very curious. And it tells you a story here of like, okay, at an age where most adults struggle to see clearly, Richard Herring is enjoying a healthy vision without glasses or contacts, but his vision wasn't always great. Since third grade, Richard was forced to wear glasses due to declining sight. Every time I went to the eye doctor, it was the same thing. I needed stronger glasses, said Richard. And now at 60 years old, Richard's vision is better than ever. I have not worn my glasses in 2 days because I don't need them anymore. I'm even able to drive without glasses. What's the secret? A little known eyesight vitamin used by professional baseball players for decades. Researchers at the University of Georgia recently discovered this unique nutrient can help aging adults protect and restore their vision. And best of all, studies show it can wipe away blurry vision in as little as 15 minutes flat. One doctor even said it's like Windex for your eyes. Click here to see how anyone can sharpen their vision like Richard did. This eyesight vitamin sharpens vision in 15 minutes. So the biggest thing for this would be like, I like the Windex trick thing with the subject line. I do like that it's like a story and it's this guy, Richard. I mean, I think there's sort of like, it feels relatable. I don't think this image is very good. I think they could have found a much better, more interesting image. I don't know if I have a ton of like a weird, like stock photo of an eye with like a splash of water to me. Like, that doesn't make me feel like, oh, I really got to click on this image. Right. I think that's an opportunity for improvement with it. But yeah, it's been running for a while. You guys have anything you want to add about this one?
I was going to say the same thing about the image. I feel like something where it's like a before and after, and the before side is really blurry, and then the after side is like 4K, super clear, would probably be good. But I thought this was a pretty good email, actually.
Yeah.
Overall.
I agree.
It's,
one cool
it's a
thing-
really unique angle with the Windex thing. I mean, it's just something we've never seen before. It's not so. I mean, a lot of stuff that we see, it's like I've seen this 50 different times from every other marketer. This I've never seen kind of the Windex thing.
Yeah, I love it. And what's interesting is like, and this is why, getting on a lot of lists and being opted in is good, because I actually did a search for it in my Gmail, right? And you can actually see basically they ran it a bunch in 2020. This actually keeps going. And then they stopped for like, a while. But these are all like, you can see there's different from names like going blind, declining vision, no glasses anymore, bad eyes, aging eyesight. And they have some different variants, like Windex trick for sharper eyesight, try it now. Windex trick sharpens eyesight and better vision. I think they used to say something about 20/20 vision, and then they stopped doing that because like probably they realized they weren't allowed to make that claim. But when it was such an easy, like trick or whatever is if you see if you start noticing an email coming into your inbox a lot or your promo tab, you can like just search your Gmail and then like if you're seeing an email that's being sent out like this often and was sent out a lot in 2020 as well, it's usually a sign that like, oh, this email is clearly does very well, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be seeing it regularly. So just a simple kind of little thing, but wanted to kind of share that too. Let's look at some emails that I think are kind of crappy or have things that aren't good. This is a really little one, but I wanted to bring it up. I mean, the whole email is whatever, but this weird last chance first name, can you make this? So it's like trying to have an urgency component. But what's funny is, look, hi, Stefan. So they actually have my name, right, in the email. But for some reason, I guess it didn't work here. I personally don't really ever like putting like the name of people into subject lines because I just feel like there's too many opportunities for weird shit like this to happen. But I wanted to ask the panel about that too. Do you guys and gals, do you use like people's names in your subject lines often or ever or not usually?
I don't.
I would say very, very rare. There are certain times when I think it can work well, but it is tricky. And like you said, depending on how they enter their name into the opt-in, might not be the name they use. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff that
It's just something too that gets used so much that I'm like numb to it. Like if it says last name Tanner, I probably have 5 emails like that from today.
Right.
Something that I like that actually Heath Wilcock from Copy Accelerator does on his emails is he'll put it in like the middle of the paragraph, like halfway through the email. So instead of like way up front, like everyone does, it'll be like, can you believe this, Stefan? Like somewhere in the middle there. And then that would like kind of wake me up a little bit. I think that's kind of cool, but otherwise I agree with what everyone said.
That's exactly what I was going to say too. I think in the subject line style, it's gotten a little overused unless your subject line is like something a friend would send you, like, hey, Sam, take a look at this thing for me really quick, or something like that. But then I think it has the most impact when it sort of hits you in the middle where you're not really expecting it and it wakes you up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say you could potentially use it in the from name. Like sometimes, even if it's not their name, but like a lot of names, you can put like person, comma, person, comma, person. So like in my email about this yesterday, I put Justin, comma, Stefan, comma, Troy, and it looks like a Gmail, like, when you're in a group chat on Gmail. So that's another way that you could kind of try to incorporate first names in a weird way.
Yeah, I've seen you do that a lot with from names actually, Troy, and I like it. You've done it with like when you did stuff with Rich Sheffrin, who's also speaking in Scottsdale. But yeah, and I've seen you do that a lot. I think that's actually really smart in the from name. I like the way you do that with like not their name, but like using more names and stuff like that.
I have one that I got. This was like 3 years ago, and I honestly don't remember what it was for. I think it was for like a blood pressure product or something. But the subject line was funeral arrangements for Justin. And I remember like it just like immediately like grabbed my attention. But I think if you could do something clever like that, that'll definitely stand out because it's not using it's similar to kind of what Tanner said, like using the name at the front looks fake, but the other way it looks a little more natural.
It's probably for like a weight loss supplement or something.
Yeah, that's sick though. That's good. Since people are asking about the last chance stuff, I want to come back to more bad examples, but I'll show a couple of those sort of urgency last chance emails. This is one I wrote for doing my profit fix formula sort of launch I was doing. This one's like very experimental, kind of I just decided to do something unique and weird. But the way I did is like an urgency drenched dramatic last chance email. So the question Jazz had is like our last chance email is sort of overdone. And do people like kind of tune them out? I personally wanted with this one to be like more like to kind of play on that and almost acknowledge that, like, you know, hey, it's last chance email, but make it sort of you know, hopefully get people kind of interested in opening it because it's urgency drenched, dramatic, you know, stuff like that. So that's the way I've done it before. And I made it a really weird email about how like there's basically a guy about to diffuse a bomb, like a movie script type thing, you know, like hero running out of time, you know, so you can pick the red wire or the blue wire and say, well, say you're the hero in your own movie and this is your moment, you know, which wire will you cut? Will you pick the red wire and miss out on profit fix formula, possibly forever? Or will you choose the blue wire, the one that stops, type out, but that stops the clock just in the nick of time and causes people around the world to erupt as they cheer your name in exaltation. Tick, 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 kaboom. You've got less than 3 hours left to make up your mind. If you read this far, you already know what you need to do. Be the hero in your own story. You know, basically like, so to me, I'm like, I thought this was kind of dope. It did really well, performed really well, but I think because it's like sort of like a good play on that, right?
I think that's a perfect example of the difference between the more guru, like a more non-guru based stuff, and the other one. I've done the same thing and actually used like the super old Batman, the really, really corny one where he's like running around with the bomb. And he's like, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. Like use a GIF in that. And that email is crushed too. And that's, you know, a more personality driven thing.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, exactly. If I was selling like a supplement, I mean, I guess like I would maybe try it for a supplement, but it would have to be during like some kind of launch. It's really a launch specific email too, right? And you're like, hey, but you know, like, I mean, similar style, or go ahead.
I would say, and brand voice.
Right.
Right. If you kind of have that playful or, you know, like you mix some of that stuff in and it's you know, something people are used to.
I also think the awareness plays into it, right? Because you're talking to an audience of marketers, so they know what you're doing when you send a last chance email. So the more you can make fun of yourself and be like, yeah, I'm doing the thing, but I'm going to have fun with it. I think that really helps, but it's because your audience is aware versus that might not work if they weren't in like a typical context or like e-com or publishers type deal.
Yeah, that's totally true.
One of my favorite emails I sent out, I did a Zoom call similar to this probably a month ago. And Zoom told me that I was like over the limit, so I had to upgrade. And the next day I sent out an email that said negative 37 spots remaining. And I just made fun of how like marketers use like a ton of scarcity. And like a bunch of people replied to it and they loved it. So sometimes humor works.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's a great point. I'm gonna show one more scarcity urgency email, kind of similar vein, so I'll be fast with this. And then after that, I want to pause and I want to do a selfie opportunity. We've been doing that during these calls where people can sort of take a selfie with us in the panel and everything. And so we'll do that in just a second here because I think that'll be really fun. But this is a similar kind of guru style one. This one's from Frank Kern. I'm gonna pull up here. And it's just like, final day, don't wake up regretting this tomorrow. What I like about this one from Frank is that it's not just like, it's for his 4-day kind of class, whatever, and today's the last day to register. Very direct, right? But I like that it's not just final day or last chance, but there's like a little bit of that emotional, don't wake up regretting this tomorrow. Like it makes you, there's a little more urgency and sort of like making, also if you haven't been paying attention, you're like, whoa, like, regretting what? So there's some curiosity there that you'd be interested in opening. But it also sort of hits you a little bit harder than just like final day, last chance, whatever it is. So I just like that from Frank there on that. But yeah, let's stop for a second. Sure, I've got a lot more examples, including we'll go back to some of the really bad examples because I think those are always fun to look at where people are fucking up. But before we do that, let's go to where if you want to take a selfie with us, basically put on Instagram, tag any of us here. We'd love to have that. So we can put our handles in the chat. I'm at Stefan Georgi. Everyone, for our panelists, if you want to pop your handles into the chat here. I'll go to is gallery the best way to do this? So someone can kind of just pop in the middle. Is that like, the best way? But basically, like we'll pose for a minute. Feel free to like kind of position yourself and then like take a selfie of all of us. I don't know, I can point down that way or something, We'll go ahead and do it for just a minute or two here. Give you a couple of different. Awesome. Yeah. Hopefully you got one. I mean, that'd be a super fun. Yeah, it's like the Brady Bunch here, the way it's
tag Stefan and I at least, and we will we'll repost them on our stories.
Yeah, definitely. And feel free to share. And obviously Troy and everyone else too, Joey and Sam.
Everybody loves Troy's shirt.
I love that. You know how you get one of those shirts?
Yeah,
You come to
everybody's got to know.
Yeah, you don't know now.
Yeah, just for everybody who wants one of those, if you come to Scottsdale, I think everybody gets one, don't they?
Yeah, I think we set that up so they're getting. I think we're doing these things. We have a couple other cool surprises for people too, like swag wise. But yeah, I think we're doing that same shirt again. Cool, awesome. So, and then by the way, I know Tanner has to go at about the hour mark. He gave us a heads up on that, but so Tanner, when that time comes, I will understand. Let's look at some more bad examples. This one's just really, this is like a B2B type one that's just really shitty. I just got this one today, so I figured I would share it. Curious about the benefits that private cloud brings to your business. It's from Liquid Web, which is like a hosting and like a web service place, right? Stefan, as the cloud transformation grows, businesses continue to reap the benefits that a cloud infrastructure provides to their business. The infrastructure of choice being VMware Private Cloud. VMware Private Cloud is an affordable option as low as $510 a month for companies who are looking for built-in hardware, high availability, scalability, and flexibility via a private cloud environment, same-day availability, and resource-based pricing.
This is painful.
No per VM. I'm reaching out to you to schedule time to review your current infrastructure, the workloads on it, and the next phase of your hosting experience with Liquid Web. Please reply to this email to discuss this in more detail.
This was written by an engineer.
I was going to say the person who made the cloud also wrote this email.
Yeah, there's just so much wrong with it. And I think this is an example where people think if they're doing like B2B that it has to be super boring, but it's not. Like even people who are like CTOs and a lot of people using Liquid Web aren't CTOs. They're like just business owners who are like hosting shit on Liquid Web, right? So like, why are they like, what about this excites me? And like, no, I'm not really curious about the benefits that private cloud brings. Like what would be so much better is if you told me some surprising benefit that being on a private cloud could bring to my business, right? If you actually told me about one of the benefits or teased it in the subject line, it'd be way more interested. I mean, way more interested in opening it and then maybe focusing on some big benefit versus sort of just like, hey, want to pay us to use our cloud and get built-in hardware, high availability? Like I don't, again, like I don't think their list is all CTOs. It's like a lot of people who just have like Liquid Web and because that's like the hosting they're using and stuff. So yeah, this to me is just an example of like a really, really bad email. And finally, because like we talk about curiosity, they actually use curious in their subject line, but no bueno.
I was gonna say that's a classic example of just like telling versus showing. I'll tell you to be curious. Also, it's like it's way too easy to say no to that subject line and then just not open at all. Like, yes, you want to qualify later, like later on in the actual email, you can give them an opportunity to say no, but probably not the subject line.
Yeah, 100%, Sam. I totally agree. So telling the showing end, yeah, exactly. Like that's exactly right. When I see that email, that's one of the reasons I hate starting sales letters and even emails with the sort of if then thing normally, where it's like, or like that sort of like, do you struggle with this, blah, 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 right? Because like even a lot of people might be like, nah, not really. And then they just like move on with their life, right? Like, are you tired of blah, blah, blah? You're like, nah, kind
and
of.
That's also an immediate sales tell. Like everyone's seen that infomercial. It's like, if you have do you have back pain? Well, I've got your solution. Like, okay.
Right. Yeah, like I'm expecting the wacky, wavy, inflatable arm guy to pop up and like be doing this while I'm like, while I'm reading it.
Exactly.
So yeah, that one's definitely a fail.
This applies to like all types of copy too, because like I see the same mistakes when people are sending cold emails and when they're sending like messages about like trying to get me as a client. Like I read the whole thing and I don't have a clue what they're trying to pitch me on. So like specificity is just huge.
Yeah, huge. So this one is like a half fail. I want to share this one because, okay, do not take magnesium unless ... I'll read a bit of this one. Hey, Stefan, Charlotte here. If you take a magnesium supplement, I want you to do something. Go get the bottle and read the label. What's listed on the side, regardless of where you bought it, I'm willing to bet you'll see one, maybe two forms of magnesium on the label. It'll probably be one or two of these. And it's like 1, 2, 3. Now, here's what most people don't know. Magnesium oxide is not good for increasing overall magnesium levels. Plus, it won't do a thing to reduce your anxiety, which is a big reason why people take magnesium. Whereas magnesium oxide has a laxative effect and could send you running for the bathroom. It kind of keeps going for a while. And it says how to get all 7 forms of magnesium that boost energy and defeat stress, anxiety, and burnout. So the reason for me that, I don't think it's like an amazingly fascinating email anyway, but I don't think that the copy is like actually like the world's worst copy. After that VMware one, right? But I think this would be a lot better if you just said, do not take magnesium. I almost feel like the unless to me doesn't actually I mean, maybe they've tested it, but that'd be an immediate split test I would do. Is I'd do like do not take magnesium versus unless, because then it's like, well, oh, unless what? Now you're telling me like probably my magnesium is fine. But if you said do not take magnesium, right? I'd be like, what the fuck? Like if I'm taking a magnesium supplement, I'd be more interested in opening that to find out why I shouldn't take magnesium. But this sort of lets me off the hook, and I can just sort of immediately be like, well, probably mine's fine, unless like Do you guys agree, and gals? Do you agree with that, or do you think that's a weird distinction I'm making with that unless?
I kind of think it is curiosity inducing, but I don't take magnesium. But I think if I was, then they'd be like, don't take it, or unless, and I'd be like, oh shit, maybe mine's safe. Like I might be curious to see like if I should continue taking mine. But yeah, I think that's a good split test. I also think because that subject line assumes that you take magnesium essentially, then the whole beginning of this email is just, it's too much, because she's like, do you? And you're like, well, you wouldn't have opened it if you didn't.
Yeah, totally. Another thing too is like what's listed. It's like one, maybe two forms of magnesium. There'll probably be one or two of these, and it has like 3 forms. I know it's a little thing, but to me that's actually kind of confusing, because I'm like, it just already feels. I shouldn't already be feeling confused when I'm reading your email. I should be feeling like enlightened, right? Not confused. And so like I'm immediately sort of getting confused here. So I think that could be just, there could be more clarity here. That would help a lot also.
Yeah, and a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I'll read this later when I can go grab the bottle and look at the back. So I would rather tell them like, hey, these are probably in it and these are very bad for you.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I saw are you pooping out magnesium? Totally, Sean, like magnesium poops would be a good one. And someone also put like avoid magnesium, which, yeah, I'll show that real quick for like a contrarian one. Like, this is you've probably seen this one. There's like the, avoid collagen, why collagen doesn't work and ages you faster. So this was on Meredith's list too. And basically BioTrust does very long emails where they really sell you. I'm not going to read this. It's like a super long educational email, because then they send a lot of times some more e-com oriented pages. But like, the avoid collagen as a from name, and like that is very powerful. And if you look at this, I did the same thing where you go to Google. Like, if you look at how many times I've been sent that email, and again, I'm not on that many lists, but it was like August 3rd, I got sent it twice, the 19th, 18th, 1st, June 30th, 25th, 16th, 14th. So clearly this is like something that's working quite well. And you see avoid of, that's a big BioTrust thing they've done before too, like avoid cashews, avoid broccoli, avoid walnuts, avoid whatever. So avoid protein, yeah. Like avoid keto, exactly. So there's, this is sort of like the contrarian aspect can work really well. But see,
works really well when something's hot and people are talking about it. So if everybody's talking about keto, how it's the greatest thing ever, then you're like avoid keto, that you're gonna get really good opens.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, but again, I think if this was like, why doesn't collagen work, or why collagen doesn't work unless, I don't think that'd be as good personally, right? Or like unless it was this kind, or like avoid collagen unless, like I think like just oh shit, like I'm taking collagen, should I avoid this, right? Like see Kathy Carr put, what's wrong with collagen? I need to read the email now. Yeah.
I agree with you on that last point. Now, the more that I see it and think about it, and like the more you talk about it, the more I'm like, yeah, that's just wasting space. It's just like, don't do it. And then if you're doing it, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go to a few more bad examples here.
And
By the way, has this been helpful for you guys so far?
Oh yeah, put in the chat if you guys are enjoying this.
Just want to check in and make sure we're hitting on stuff that is going to help you with your emails for the list you manage, stuff like that.
While you're doing that, I'm going to hop off. Thanks, everyone. Great call, but I got to run.
No worries, Tanner.
Thanks, Tanner.
Thanks for making the time. Oh, I already missed him. I feel like a little part of me just died, All right, good. Well, I'm glad this is, more scared to write a subject line. How about some coverage on growing a list cold?
That's a whole different call.
It's kind of a different topic though, but cool. Let's look at a few more that are just not I think looking at bad examples can be really helpful. So I got 3 more here, and then maybe I'll pull up 1 or 2 more, and then we'll kind of pivot and open up a little bit more, some broader stuff too though. But this one I got really recently here. Life After Money, big tech set to launch new currency. And this is a promo offer for Legacy Research, which is a financial publisher. Same thing with the name thing, dear space comma, An epic showdown has broken out between the government and some of America's top tech firms, all because of a new and controversial plan. Let me make this bigger for everybody too. To launch their own competing currencies, which could restructure the financial system overnight. I just returned from a private meeting with top policymakers on Capitol Hill, and frankly, I'm shocked the mainstream media hasn't picked up on this yet. But you can get all the details you need to prepare for this massive change as well as profit from it. Learn the full story here. Don't say I didn't warn you first. Sincerely, Jeff Brown. So to me, like, I think this email, like the subject line, life after money, big tech set to launch new currency. Like, and this guy's list is like mostly a health list, but health like can definitely sell financial and financial can sell health. But I think if you're on like a health list, is like a subject line like life after money, big tech set to launch new currency. Is that really interesting to you? Right? Like, I think that just falls flat because yeah, it's a similar type of audience. There's an overlap, but I think if you talked about like, you know, like why like big tech's new cryptocurrency, you know, could be minting like could turn everyday people into millionaires or something like that, or just something like a little bit more about like how like, you know, how like a housewife in Oklahoma, you know, could become a millionaire thanks to this big tech like one thing that Facebook's doing, or big tech like kind of currency, or I don't know, just something like I just think you could be more specific or a better promise or more relevant, things like that. And I think that, you know, that doesn't really do it. And then even the showdown thing here, and it's like all right, like I don't know why, if I'm not like, yeah, I mean, what are they really interested in? Are they interested in like Congress and policy, and like, you know, maybe they're a little bit interested in crypto, but like there's not really that much about crypto here and big tech. It's like I think they're interested in making money. And sure, you can't make like, you know, irresponsible claims about, hey, become a millionaire by investing in this, but like you could just be way more what's in it for me than this email has. I do actually like the picture. To me, that picture is good. It has like credibility and curiosity. I think the picture is the saving grace of this email. But yeah, I don't know. I think this one just sort of falls flat. So I wanted to share that, especially on the financial side, right?
Yeah, I agree. For me, I was just gonna say the big thing reading top to bottom is like, well, why do I care though? Like, what's in it for me? What does this matter to me right now? Because you haven't made any kind of like fear claims, which usually work in financial, or any kind of like you can make a bunch of money off of this. So it's like, well, why do I? This is why the mainstream media is not on it, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Totally agree. Somebody said I thought Jeff was a finance guy, not a health guy. Yeah, so this is going for Dr. Vager. It's like his email list. I know how I got on this email list, but they're sending a promotional email on behalf of Jeff Brown and Legacy Research. Show you a really bad one. I think it's this one here for good old Gavin Newsom. This is like why I think for a lot of the freelancers here, I just think there's so much opportunity to write email for political campaigns and politicians. Like check out this subject line from Gavin Newsom for governor. We are writing to ask if we can add your name to lists for Governor Newsom of people who we can count on to return their ballots opposed to the Republican recall. Like, what the fuck is going on with that subject line? Like, I just don't know who wrote that. Was it like some chicken or dude in Gavin Newsom's like office who just was like, well, I've never sent an email before, but I'll give it a try.
Probably tried to put the whole body copy in the subject line, but that's all they'll let them put in.
It's like, yeah, it's like my mom was trying to do email like marketing or something like that, but I had no idea. Like, I'm surprised it wasn't all caps. That's the only thing that was missing, you know, the caps lock. And I mean, I don't know. I also don't like Gavin Newsom at all. So, but that's a personal thing. But like, yeah, this just like it's such an obvious thing. But it's like who? Because again, then you're seeing this as a PDF, but when you're looking on Gmail, it's just sort of this like long run-on sentence that gets cut off, right? Using AI copywriter, Carolyn said, yeah, maybe. So yeah, just super bad example. And then here's one more that I think is sort of like really misses the mark I want to share. You need 8 hours of sleep. Here is why. So like, that's okay from like a curiosity aspect, but like, I'm like, yeah, like, I don't know. Of course I know I need 8 hours of sleep. I'm not really that like, yeah, there's nothing, I like saying what you just said, there's in the chat, there's nothing like new here. It's like, I don't know, I kind of know why, because I need to, like, I already know that like 8 hours of sleep is important, right? I also really think that this is like, they have this header. I think I don't like their header here at all every time to me. I know they're doctors, but it's just like so clearly looks like a stock photo. It's like a blurry image. I don't know that.
It takes up way too much space. That's the most important space in the email.
Yeah, I strongly agree, Justin.
Like if you want to have the branding at the top, just have the logo and not the pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why the unsubscribe is the very first thing you see on their list either. I don't know if like they have to do that, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me.
Some people do it who have a ton of leads on their list,
Mm.
simply because it cuts down on spam and complaints. If you have more buyers, you don't usually need to do that. But yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then yeah, the body copy. If you do not sleep deep and through the night, which is already stumble on that. It's not very well written, but if you do not sleep deep and through the night for at least 8 hours, our doctors highly recommend you read this. Why? Because studies show that lack of sleep causes stress, irritability, pain, weight gain, chronic health problems, even death. And without proper sleep, your immune system can't produce a special. So like right away, like it's just like so educational, but not in a good way. It's like you're just sort of telling me if I am having trouble sleeping, like telling them like a story about somebody who was struggling with like getting enough sleep and their health, and they were like stressed out and angry and their health was breaking down and all that kind of stuff. But then they discovered this like new solution. Like, like that would just be way better. But this is sort of like a school report, right? It's like the school report email. And it's when I talk about like, people who lead with stats, or they speak to like, you should speak to like the heart first and the emotion first and the brain and logic second. But this is a complete opposite. It's sort of just like going back to what Sam said about showing versus telling. It's sort of like, they're just sort of telling you, hey, sleep's not good for you. You're like, or sorry, not getting enough sleep's not good for you. And you're like, yeah, like I know. So yeah, this is a big fail to me. I don't know if you guys want to add anything on this one, but yeah. Okay. So I mean, I can go through more examples, but I think it might be cool to like open up to our panel. Maybe for each person who's here, so Troy, Joey, and Sam, like to kind of cover like one thing that you're doing right now that's really working well with like your email marketing. It could be a copy strategy thing. It could be like a segmenting thing, a deliverability thing. I think it'd be fun to have you guys and I use guys just so inclusively. I know Sam, you're here. I'm trying to be good about my pronouns, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like you guys and gals to share like one thing that
Sam's one of the boys.
Yeah. And we're all one of the girls, so you can flip it back there, bring it back. But one thing that's working right now, I'd love to hear about that. And maybe Troy, you want to start?
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, the main thing, a lot of people may or may not know this, but obviously like one of the easiest ways to like make more money with emails to make sure that people are actually seeing your emails. So if you don't have like a test account set up yet, where you just open up a brand new Gmail account, takes like maybe 30 seconds, and just send your emails to that before you send them out to your whole list, because you might be going to spam, you might be going to the promo tab. So we kind of talked about earlier a few different ways you can create positive engagement, which helps greatly with spam. And you want to make sure that you're getting like a minimum 15 or 20% open rate. So for example, if your open rate is 10%, you're kind of like inching towards spam a little bit. So what you want to do is like send to less people, and you won't make less money, because the truth is that like if you're cutting off people, you're going to cut off the people who haven't opened in a long time. So therefore, like the amount of people actually opening the email will be the same or roughly the same, but your open rates will be higher and Google will reward that. So that's generally how you get out of spam. As far as like promotions tab, some things to check when you're like testing your emails would be like the from name, the subject line, the link text, and then the body copy in that order. Those are kind of like the pecking order of things. Outside of the domain reputation and the IP reputation itself. I know this could probably be very complicated for some people, especially if you've only written copy before. So if you have questions about that, you can definitely drop those below, but that's kind of like the 2-minute crash course on how to make sure that you're making more money without really editing your copy at all.
Yeah, that's an awesome one. So a question came in if that applies to B2B. I would guess yeah, but like, I'll let you answer that, Troy.
Yeah. So again, the only real way to know is to test. A lot of people ask me all the time. They're like, will this subject line go to promotions, or will this from name go to spam? And I can't tell you, because everybody's domain reputation is so different. So that's why it's important to open up that test account on your own, because if somebody else had success with it or failed with it, that doesn't mean it's going to be the same for you. So with B2B, you just have to send a test, from wherever you normally send from. So let's say you're using like Gmass and you're sending from the inbox, or you're using an ESP sending out like, mass broadcast emails. Make sure you send it from the same spot that you plan on sending it from when you actually go ahead and send it to your list or to whoever you're sending it to. Also recommend doing it as like a live test, right? So like making a list with your test account on it, and clicking the send broadcast button, because sometimes the test email button is not always accurate because they use a different IP address.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because that's, I think, a mistake a lot of people make. They just use the preview one, and sometimes they're on different IPs or shared IPs. So just because you land in primary in that, it doesn't mean it will in the actual send.
Yeah, and then I guess one last thing, in case, because like a lot of people here may know that, one thing that's been working really well too that helps with both deliverability, like Stefan mentioned, is like a couple hours after somebody gets your welcome email, just send them an email that's like, hey, first name, what's your biggest question about blank? Reply and let me know. Or your biggest problem with blank? Reply and let me know. And those replies are great because they help deliverability. They give you an idea of what your audience wants. So like my audience, they want to know how to grow an email list. They want to know what to write when there's nothing to say. And they want to know how to get higher open rates. I know that for a fact because people reply all the time. And then also, like, if somebody replies, they're more likely to buy stuff in the future because they feel like it's okay to like reach out and ask questions, and they feel like it's more of a relationship instead of just a company sending them emails.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Troy, one other question. What is like that open rate danger zone? Is it like, and you said around, once you get to around 15%, but is it really at like 10% or below, or like what is it? No, I know it's a magic number, but like what's where you're really concerned?
I mean, I like to say 15 because when you start inching closer to 10, it's like you could run into some issues. And again, spam is not something that covers everybody. Like you could start going to spam for some people. But then again, I've tested accounts before for clients where they're on like Aweber and they have like 7% open rates and it's hitting the primary tab, and I'm just like super confused. So it is different for everybody, but I like to stay safe, and it's always better to be more favorable in the eyes of Google and all the other ISPs.
Cool. No, that's great. That's a bunch of good stuff there. Thank you for that. Joey, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, those are all really good things. I would just take, so I agree, like deliverability is going to be the most important, right? Like you can't get an email delivered. Like that's the base of the pyramid, right? So when I do the customized like email, like scaling plans for people, like that's it. Like that's what we have to fix first. Deliverability, backend systems, all that type of stuff. And then from there, just the next steps I'm always looking for is like, what are the big rocks that are actually going to move the needle the most, instead of this really small, complicated things, right? If we look at, just apply to something else like health and fitness and stuff, right? If you want to actually, like, you want to lose 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds, there's certain things that are going to make way more of an impact than other things. And one of so like after deliverability would be like the base of the pyramid. The first thing I'm looking at is volume and frequency. So like, am I just sending enough emails? Like that, instead of before I'm messing with like really tiny from name changes or subject lines, they can make huge differences, right? They can make 50, 200. I've seen a 300% increase in profit per thousand on an email from a from name and or a subject line change, with everything else being the same. But the first thing I'm going to look at is, are we doing enough of these things, right? If you're trying to, are you working out enough? Am I sending enough emails? And then from there, then I'm going to go into like content. That's the next big thing on the pyramid that I'm going to look at, is just like the body copy, right? That's going to be the biggest swing in that we're able to make it in Sherpa. That's the first thing we do with new offers. We see if that has legs. And then from there, we're testing body copies. That's where I'm testing different big ideas. And then from there, we're moving into different things they're more of like the smaller, complicated things. Like we're doing from name testing, subject line testing, and all that, triggers and all that type of stuff. But I'm looking at like the biggest needle movers first, and then moving on to that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the foundational component in the pyramid and how you look at it as well. Sam, I know now you have to go after these two. I know they're stealing your glory, but you got anything you want to throw in there?
Yeah, I think so. The one thing that I want to touch on, obviously I don't work with the same, like the big kind of like publisher lists and that the big churn and burn lists, but I would talk about how I think, there's a kind of a stigma against sending an email without a CTA, almost in a sense, all the time. And they're like, you must be selling everything all the time, but that's actually not true. And there's tracking software out there that can track like which emails were open prior to someone buying something, that shows you that keeping up with your contacts, like it doesn't matter if you don't have anything to sell that day, it's actually super important that you maintain frequency and contact with your audience rather than just letting them go cold, or else you're going to lose them. And so essentially it doesn't matter if you don't have something to sell, you should still be emailing frequently and just make sure that you're entertaining them at the very least, providing some kind of value, and just being a person in their inbox rather than like another company vying for their wallet. And I think that will go a long way, especially in like a guru relationship level list. That's kind of my approach.
Yeah, that's awesome, Sam. Justin, do you want to add one as well? You got anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, probably my biggest thing to add that hasn't been talked about yet is figuring out what your actual email strategy is going to be and then sticking to it. Because as we've all said on this call, the difference between like a list like mine that's more of a guru personality based list and one that like Joey's running, which is a health list that really doesn't have a face to it, and it's more of a churn and burn list where they're okay with losing people off the list. They just want to send a bunch of emails and make a bunch of money off those people. Very, very, very different strategies between those two lists, and trying to figure out exactly what strategy you want to do for your list and what's the best fit for your list. Hugely important, because you could be doing all the right things, but if you're doing the wrong strategy for your type of list, it's not going to work out great.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I had breakfast with like a financial publisher / guru here in New York, where I am right now, a few days ago, and he basically sold his business to another financial publishing company, but he basically was super value based, didn't sell a lot, kind of a guru type list. And then he put in all of his emails like, hey, like there's nothing I'm not selling you anything here, because when I do come across something so valuable and important that I think, I have to share with you, then I want you to absolutely click the link and buy it. And he basically put that and basically built this like multi-million-dollar a year business. Financial company bought it, switched to like a churn and burn. It did like $5 million in revenue that list in like a single month. Right. And then it just literally just fucking burned to the ground, because basically like all of that goodwill that the guy had like built up over like years, and then that was his style. And they switched style overnight to like this totally different style. And it was completely incongruent with his audience, what they were, used to. So it's just an interesting lesson, because it doesn't mean that you can't you can totally go with the churn and burn model, right? Totally cool. But like being congruent with your style and then not sort of just switching in the middle of, or like, like you really do need to pick the style that's best for you. Like that guy, worked for him really well. I mean, he was fine. Actually, then they basically paid him a bunch of money to come back and rebuild everything. So the guy basically like sold his company twice, almost worked out for him. But yeah, it's super interesting.
Yeah, the rest of the business has to support that, like that part of it, right? Like if you don't have the lead flow to support something like that, then that's where you run into trouble. So that like that's something that they're really got to take into account. It's like at Sherpa, the like all that email revenue is profit. Pure affiliate commissions, no delivery, no fulfillment, nothing, all profit, versus someone like you have your own business, like, and you're delivering and fulfilling all that type of stuff, don't have that lead flow. You can run your email list like that, but it's going to be a big mistake. There's some real big changes you got to make in order to make that email program work for that type of business.
Yeah, that's a great point as well. Cool. This has been awesome. So we're gonna be wrapping up in a minute here, but before we do, one thing I do want to share with everybody on this call is about our upcoming event for Copy Accelerator, which is happening in Scottsdale, Arizona. So Sam, are you able to smuggle? Are we smuggling you out of Canada? Are you making it to this one?
I got flights booked. I got rooms booked. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'm vaccinated and everything, so I'm so excited.
Awesome.
Although I'm gonna melt. It's gonna be so hot. Oh my god.
Yeah, coming from Canada, it's gonna be pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Joey and Troy, you guys will be in Scottsdale as well.
Yep.
Justin, of course,
Yeah,
will
of
be.
course. I
Cool.
love the live events. It changed everything for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Who else if put in the chat if you're on this call and you're going to be in Scottsdale, if you're coming to the event, I'd love to see it. Pop it in the chat. Let's see here. Oh yeah, there we go. Love seeing that. That's awesome. Go to the event, maybe they're a newbie, bought a ticket. There is a virtual option. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second too. Cool. I love seeing that. So yeah, if you don't know what's going on with this event, so it's for our mastermind Copy Accelerator. We basically decided to open up some tickets so that people who aren't in the mastermind can still come attend our events, but it's super high level. It's like somewhere where we've got amazing caliber of, marketers, copywriters, freelancers, entrepreneurs, business owners, all coming together for 2.5 days and sharing everything that's working right now. A lot of stuff like what you saw on today's call, both as far as the speakers and content go, but also the conversations you'll have with other people. Like I saw so many questions being asked in the chat. It's like when you're sitting there and actually chatting with people, like when you're chatting with Troy in person, it's like Troy will, be happy to answer your questions, right? Like it's like you can learn and leapfrog so much. Katrina said went to one of their events last year, a million% worth it. Yeah, absolutely. I just put a link to the sales letter for the event. So for those of you who don't know about it yet, haven't checked it out, I'd recommend clicking on it and going through the letter when you have a chance. But I'll show you, basically like what's going on. You've got Justin and I presenting on multiple things, including like how to find your customer's crack, which is gonna be really interesting, like in any niche or market, how to find the thing that your customer wants the most of. Justin, you want to quickly explain why the customer crack thing is so like important? Because I think it's kind of such a cool concept. It might be cool to kind of explain to people in a 30-word, 30-second summary.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, let's say if I'm selling something to copywriters, there's a bunch of things I could talk about. I could talk about getting more clients. I could talk about making more money. I could talk about teaching how to become a better copywriter. But there's certain things that matter much more to the client, to the prospect, than other things. So like, for example, with copywriters, we know, Stefan and I know from experience, it's how do I get more clients? That is the number one thing that gets asked to us. And so we kind of consider that for copywriters, that is copywriters crack. And so if we're doing some type of promo to copywriters, our number one thing we're going to focus on is how can we give you more clients? And every single niche really has these little bits that are crack to the prospect. And you, no matter how many times you give it to them, they want more and they want more and they want more. And those are the promos that continue to work over and over and over again. And so we actually have a presentation that's exactly about finding your customer's crack. And we have like 8 different niches that we're showing examples from. I have a bunch of the best copywriters in the world who have actually chimed in on this to help me with the presentation, who deeply, intricately know their niche and know what their customer's crack is. So this is gonna be a pretty badass presentation.
Yeah, that's sick. I'm really excited for this one, to do that one with you, Justin. On my end, I'm gonna do a couple things planned, but one of them is all about sort of like split tests and optimizations that are immediately actionable and implementable, which is awesome for offer owners, business owners, but also for freelancers, especially because like you can bring these to your clients and look like a genius when you implement these split tests and immediately get big wins. What's extra cool, I always crowdsource a lot of these from like members of Copy Starter. So you have people in like, finance and health and guru and like high ticket, and like there'll be a bunch of different examples. But with the supplement company that I'm JVing in now, which we just launched, I'll tell you guys like, the quick. So Saturday we did $2,000 in ad spend on Facebook and brought back $0, right? And I was like, oh God, like, oh no, I'm a fraud, I'm a failure. This is a letter that I just recently wrote. But then I went through on Sunday and basically like found all of these things that were like wrong or need to be tested or optimized on the page. And then by, I guess it was we implemented them on Monday, but by Tuesday, yesterday we did 2,700 in ad spend and brought back like $5,000. Like, no, sorry, we $2,000 in ad spend and brought back like $5,700 or something like that. And today we're probably gonna hit like $10,000 in revenue and like a couple $1,000 ad spend. And this is something that I'm planning on scaling to like, $100 million plus company like this year. And I've got the infrastructure to do it, but it's like, I'm going to share a bunch of those things that I did, right? Like I'll share that now, like, here's a bunch of stuff. When you launch an offer and it's like, maybe it's not working, here's the things to check. And then some of them are split tests. So I'm gonna have so much data. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this JV, besides making tons of money and all that, is so I can have so much live data to be sharing and teaching and like tests that we're running and things that are working right now. So I love that stuff, because again, it's things that you can take home and like implement for yourself, for your client, and like literally the next day have like huge wins, have home run wins and get ROI and stuff like that.
Stefan, one thing I want to add for the copywriters on the call, I would say probably the most beneficial things you get out of the event is we connect you with business owners who are looking to hire you. We do 2 different sessions where all the business owners stand up and say what type of copy they're looking for. You get to talk to them in the room, or you can do it on the virtual option. You'll get a list of everybody who's looking to hire. So you'll be able to coordinate and talk with them. And actually, we do a whole matchmaking session. So you should leave there with clients, even if you're a newbie. And I would say the other biggest thing for copywriters is the network you're going to get from being there, connecting with people like Sam and Joey and Troy and all the other great copywriters there. Being around copywriters that are making 20, 30, 40 grand a month is going to completely change the way you think about copy and what's possible for you. I think that's such a huge thing for copywriters. It's getting a bigger network in terms of meeting offer owners who can hire you, and then meeting other copywriters who A, can help you kind of see what's possible, and B, kind of refer you more work. So if you're a copywriter, that's huge. And the other thing for offer owners, A, you can hire copywriters at the event. It's probably the best place to hire copywriters. There's going to be, I don't know, 150 plus copywriters there. You'll be able to actually talk to them, see some of their samples, all that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, everything we talk about is literally about what's working now. We don't have people get on stage and talk about what was working in direct mail in 1993. Like, that's not what our events are about. It's about what's working now. We're talking about things like ads and leads and VSLs and emails and stuff like that. A lot of the stuff that we kind of went over on this call. So I just wanted to show those are kind of probably the two biggest benefits for both offer owners and copywriters that are thinking of attending.
Yeah, and I know some people are asking about the virtual event. So yeah, the virtual event, you're being piped in, you're watching all the presentations live. We have virtual matchmaking sessions between business owners and copywriters. We have concierges who will be hitting you up and being like, hey, what do you need? Like, what are you trying to get out of this event? Be like, oh, I'm trying to meet this person, or I want clients, or I want to hire a copywriter, or I want to talk to somebody. Like, literally, they will be matching you with those people. So like, virtual is a great option as well. Obviously, in person is awesome. Yeah, if you go here, the sales letters here. I mean, the other cool thing, you asked what the investment is, I will happily tell you that. So it's $1,450 for a ticket. And I guarantee you will get a massive ROI, because we used to charge $29.50 per ticket. But B, when you buy a ticket, you get put into our Copy Accelerator Lite program until the event. So it's kind of an urgency component to it. Like, it makes more sense to buy the ticket now versus wait if you can, because in Copy Accelerator, for example, starting, I think today actually, but Brian Spirinello does a weekly call for freelancers, where the next 4 weeks, every single one of those calls is about how to get clients at events, and like everything you need and the questions you're going to be asked. Like, literally, it's like 4-week masterclass that he's doing for all of our members on how to get clients at events. So it's like, you watch the replay on that one, but you've got the next 3 you can go to live. You get copy feedback every week. A call of Saba Karimi, she does, where you can bring copy onto the call, and Saba will look at your copy and give you feedback, right? How do I get better? I need feedback. Saba does that. Mike Abramoff does that. Two of the best copywriters in the world. Both have done 9 figures in revenue, looking at your copy and giving you feedback. There's weekly training calls from Justin and I every single week. Sometimes we bring in guests. We just did one on TikTok that was like fascinating yesterday. A lot of tactical stuff and breakdowns as well. You have access to our whole members area, which is like literally, we've gone through RMBC twice and done training on that. We've done stuff on ecom multiple times. Advertorials, like Justin, you did like an 8 class, like master thing on email marketing. Like, we did it together, but you led a lot of that. That's in the members area. Like, literally, like the members area is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
All the past event videos too.
Yeah, I can just show you it. So if I go here to like sort of, I'll just go to the video trainings, right? So you've got your most recent calls, but RMBC, email, breakdowns of sales letters and funnels, tricks, conversion boosters, tons of stuff on upsells, like Justin's Olaf method. We have a swipe file, the things with special guests. We do mindset calls regularly. You can watch playbacks of the copy reviews, the business of freelancing calls, stuff on Facebook, scaling cold traffic and compliance, all of our live events, all of the replays from all of our previous live events. You literally get all of this up until the event and through the event when you buy your ticket for $14.50. So pretty amazing. And basically, yeah, Brian is an amazing freelancer. So basically, yeah, all you need to do if you want to come is click on the link that we've been putting in the chat. And even if you're 50-50 on coming, I would still do this. I would still click on it so you can read about it. And then like when you come down here, like you keep scrolling, right? Nice long sales letter pumping you up. You'll see all the speakers like Rich Sheffrin, Ian Stanley, a guest from Golden Hippo who's amazing. Just like so many badasses. Krista Dodd, Dan Ferrari, Sala on the panel too. So many people. Josh Snow from Snow Teeth Whitening is gonna be there. Come here, just click here to apply. Put an application, you have a call with Blake. It's not like a weird hardcore sales call at all. But it's like he just sort of finds out, more about you. The reason we do that is honestly like make sure you're not an asshole, but also to like learn about you, because so yeah, to see if you're a good fit. But it's also like if you're like, this is my big goal, this is what I'm looking to get out of the event, right? That if we have like a spreadsheet, we track that stuff so that when you come, like then we can actually like make sure we know, okay, well, this is what this person needs to get an ROI at the event. We have like an actual team like working to make sure that you get whatever it is you need. So that's why we do like the application call. And again, to make sure you're not an asshole too. But it's not, we're super newbie friendly. Like we love new like writers, new offer owners, people who are new to the space. Like The network is just insane, right? Yeah, I mean, I really think you look at it as an investment. Again, of course, there's people out there who just, it's like absolutely not feasible. And it's like, all right, sure. And then we still love you. Come to every one of our calls, do everything that we do for free. And we want you to get to the place where you are ready. But if you are at that place where you are ready to make an investment in yourself, there's just nothing like one of these events. We've got, I think last count I had 105 tickets sold. Plus you've got our mastermind at Full and Light, which is another like 250 people. Still a month to go. I mean, there's going to be like, I don't know, at least like 300 people at the event, maybe 400, plus a lot of people on virtual as well. This is going to be like insane. Yeah, one college class is like 3K. That's a great comparison, Chrislyn. And I mean, Troy, do you mind sharing? I'm gonna put you on the spot, but like, you're such a great success story. Do you mind sharing like your experience coming to our events real quick? Is that okay? Like, I don't, don't hate me for asking you. I'd love to hear it.
No, I love it, man. I love every opportunity I get to rep this thing on my chest because it literally changed my life. And I'm not just saying that. And like, I came to this event making $4 to $6 grand a month, stuck writing like Facebook ad copy, dealing with crappy like clients that didn't understand like anything. And I was like on Upwork and like doing all these things that you're probably doing right now. And it was not fun. It's like way more stress and way less money. And then through going to these events, like I just learned so much. And I got to the point where we were doing like the copywriter and business owner, like pair up, got some clients from that, started, using my unique angle of like, hey, I'm an email list manager instead of just a copywriter. So I, really started talking to these people. And later that year, I was making about 30K a month. And then a lot of you too have seen my podcast with Justin, where we were talking about how I made, like 300 grand in profit in 2020. In 2019, it was literally about 10% of that. It was like 32,000 profit. And then from there, I've really learned how to become an offer owner, how to take all these things I learned from going from a copywriter to an email list manager and specializing in deliverability. And last month, my revenue numbers almost hit my full like profit numbers from last year. It did 305K. And that's not to brag, it's to show you like literally less than 2 years ago, I was living in a shack in the middle of Ohio, making $6 grand a month. That was my best month in December. It's August right now. It was less than 2 years. And I could not picture my life in like this family and this community in any other way. So I encourage you to show up and come talk copy to me. And I want to get the same results for you.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah. From 6K a month to 300K plus a month in less than 2 years. I mean, it's fucking remarkable. And and again, like you just kept going up where it was like 20K, 20K, 30K, back to 20K, 35K. And then suddenly it was like 80K. Everyone did 80K and it was like 83K. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's amazing. And then you're like, I just passed 200,000 for this month. Like it's fucking like a rocket ship, man. It's been amazing to see, but that's what the environment, it does for people. And be like Troy, basically, I'd love to hear, yeah, Joey and Sam, you want to share your stories too real quick? I love hearing these stories, so it's never get old to me, and maybe it'll help push somebody who's on the edge. But like I'd love, because again, I do think these events change people's lives. I mean, it's really like the easiest thing for me to try to like tell you to do this, because like I've just seen it change so many people's lives that maybe your stories can help. Joe, you comfortable kind of sharing sort of your experiences with Copy Accelerator real quick?
Yeah, so I joined Copy Accelerator at the ground level. I think it was, the first few weeks you guys started it. So I don't know. I think the biggest thing about like the events is when I started, so like I said earlier, like I hit six figures my first year as a copywriter, but there's this weird thing, and I noticed it a lot with other freelancers too, that you want to like start and like work your way up with clients. So really you end up like working with shittier clients that are more work. And one of the best things about Copy Accelerator is like, you're put in a room with all these people who are willing to pay nice chunks of money for copy. And they're like actively looking for copywriters. And then some of the biggest companies like in our space, in the direct response space, they like openly say like, we're willing to test and work with like any copywriter. So like, it's like the easiest foot in the door with people who want to pay more for copy, instead of like what most copywriters do. It's like, I want to start with these smaller people who are like, and then they're like, you're wrestling this thing of like trying to educate people that they need good copy, or why they need email copy, or why they need a sales letter, or why they need a phone. It's a complete ass backwards way of like thinking and working, but most people did it, myself included. And struggling when I first started like getting rolling with that type of stuff. So I think just that in itself won't really like, I won't don't like sharing numbers and stuff, but this past year I made more money than I ever did, working significantly less, picking up multiple hobbies. So golf in itself, I started playing golf last year. I played probably like 50 rounds of golf in 1 year. Before that, I didn't have any hobbies and wasn't doing anything. I was just pure work, and I was making significantly less. And all that with having just a baby she's coming up to, and spending more, like, done working in the night. I used to work like late at night. I'm just with her all the time. It can, like, just being in the right community can change a lot. And if you can go, if you're like debating between virtual and in person, like, if you can go in person, go in person. It's so much better. Virtual is hard. It's just tough. And then, like, just being with people in the group, if that's an option, even if it's like kind of a stretch for you a little bit, and you're like, the in-person is, I've always found, like, they're way better. Virtual's hard, both with the players that are going to be out doing the hiring too. If you're a copywriter, they're more than likely going to be in person too. The connection, the network's way better. It's for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's an awesome story. I mean, I do. So I know Kathy had said if you live in Scotland and can't go, is virtual still worth it? But I mean, yeah. So yeah, there are still virtual networking tables. There's still, like I said, I mean, we are, the one advantage we do have is, like, because I agree with what Joey said. If you can go in person is best, right? Absolutely. But we really wanted to be intentional with that. And I guess one blessing from the stuff of COVID is, like, we put on 2 really good virtual events. We got really good at that. And so, like, you know, for those who do go virtual, like, you are, because the whole thing, okay, you're gonna get the content easy, but how do we create, like, the networking and the opportunities and things of that nature? And that's something that we are really being intentional about. So yeah, there are going to be, like, virtual networking events. Like, you know, we have, like, all kinds of surprises. We actually have, like, you know, kind of exclusive stuff for people who are virtual that people who are in person won't even actually experience. You know, all in a you know, very concerted effort to make sure that virtual is a very powerful, like, you know, and then that you're, like, you know, you feel really included. And thank you. Yeah, Katrina said the virtual event was excellent. You are included. The way they handled it was one of the best virtual events I've experienced. We've heard that from a lot of people on the virtual stuff. We really tried it, and we're gonna keep doing that this time as well. But awesome, cool. Yeah, same price for both virtual and in person. And remember, you literally, 1 month of our mastermind on Light is $14.95, and that's one of the reasons the ticket's the same. So basically, if you buy your ticket, you just get to be in our mastermind for free for a month. That people are, you can't do our mastermind month to month. It's a 12-month commitment. So you're either paying $14.95 for 12 months, or you're, you know, paying $15,000 if you do the paid in full. But with this, you actually get, you know, a month for free in our mastermind, plus you get the ticket to the event. It's just ridiculous. With that being said, Sam, I don't want to leave you out. You want to share your copy accelerator, you know, experience and with the events and all that kind of stuff? I'd love to hear that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a story that I posted. It was like last year, right around this time, but basically 2 years back, right at this time of year, I had tried to do this copywriting thing, and I had some successes, and I had still kind of ended up, I was broke. I had no clients, and my last ditch effort was to go to a live event. And that really turned things around for me and kept things in the game. Now, unfortunately, you know, despite the success that going to that event and landing a client, I ended up with a client that wasn't right for me. And so I again ended up in a situation where I thought maybe I wasn't going to make it. But through that client, I got into Copy Accelerator. And that's where I started to see what was really possible, what it meant to work with clients who actually value what you do. And I met those clients. And so when my relationship kind of ended poorly with that exclusive client that just wasn't right for me, it became a jumping off ground, all thanks to Copy Accelerator, because I had that network, I had that training, I had that confidence. You know, I had one person telling me that I was awful at what I was doing, but I had this whole mastermind and all of this information that I was like, I can obviously figure this out. I have all the tools that I need. And so for me, I used to struggle with confidence a lot. And, you know, you go through waves, but the fact that I had that jumping off point and I had that community to go back to, and I had all those resources, it was like, there's no way I can't figure something out. And so for me, despite having like a really crap month in June, in July, I had my biggest month ever. And that was thanks to Copy Accelerator. And it's only continued since there. I've continued to make better relationships with that. I've been able to write for like huge behemoths in the industry that I never would have met otherwise, like Todd Lamb, who I still write for, who like regularly calls me his favorite and his friend, which is like my biggest honor. You know, my life, Steve Gunn, oh my God. You know what I mean? All these people, I would never have met them if I wasn't in Copy Accelerator and I wasn't going to these events and I wasn't putting myself out there. And I just want to make a side note that I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm super introverted and I get really nervous being on camera and talking to people and all that kind of stuff. And these events still work for me. You don't have to be perfect at it. You don't have to push yourself and just kill yourself with anxiety. You know what I mean? You can take breaks. If something's not right for you, take that break, take that breather. But being in the room counts, and seeing what's possible counts, and starting those relationships, even if you're not, don't go in and just badger everybody for money. That's not what you want to do. That actually takes the pressure off. You don't need to go in and pitch. You just need to go in and meet people and make those relationships. And that's where everything starts.
Yeah, that's awesome, Sam. And I actually love that point on the introverted side too. Because even for me, especially before I got diagnosed with ADD and started taking Adderall, but I've always thought about how masterminds would change my life, and it's true. But even what I would do honestly is I would almost every mastermind I went to, I'd always take a break. I'd go outside like during the session and just go have some me time for 30 minutes. Or sometimes I'd go to my room for an hour and just chill and come back and recharge. And so for people who maybe feel like you're introverted, they need to do it, that's totally fine too. I still got the craziest ROI and connections and the life-changing stuff ever from doing that. So yeah, and I was nobody thinks it's weird. You know what I mean? Nobody's like, oh, where do you go for an hour? Nobody cares. They're just excited when you're there, and you can't help but make amazing connections just by being there and being present most of the time. So yeah, it's freaking awesome. But with that being said, I mean, I don't want to take up too much more time. I just would strongly encourage everybody, if you haven't already, to check out that page. I put the link in the chat several times. I'll pop it one last time. Apply, talk to Blake, get your questions answered. Figure out if virtual or in person is best for you. All that good stuff. August 31st through September 2nd in Scottsdale, Arizona. Got all kinds of fun surprises. We're doing our final night cocktail party at the zoo, but they have an indoor area. It's air conditioned too, but I think that's be kind of cool. I probably get some cool weird things like with animal, see some dope animals and stuff. And but yeah, we have opening night cocktail party. It's completely open bar. The next night we're gonna have a hosted sort of happy hour with food and drinks for everybody the next night as well, which we've never done that before for people who are just attendees or late. But we're gonna host that for that'll be hosted for everybody so they can all be together and even more networking. And then we'll have a last night party with food and open bar. We literally just we go all out. We basically we don't make money selling these tickets, really, honestly. It's just more about some people who end up joining Copy Accelerator, which is awesome. I mean, that's sort of the ROI, but also we're doing this for our members. And since we're doing it for our members anyway, it's let's open this up for the rest of our community to have the opportunity to come and to network and chill and learn and get better and level up. And so yeah, we'd love to see you there. Justin, anything you wanna add before we I just want to
say thanks everybody for attending the webinar. I hope you got some good nuggets you can take away from this, implement into your emails, whether the ones you're writing for yourself or for clients. A lot of really good stuff was shared. So don't feel overwhelmed because there was a lot of good stuff shared. Pick one or two things and I would say start implementing it. And hope to see everybody in Scottsdale.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Sam, Joey, Troy, thank you to Tanner for the hour that he was here as well. But yeah, just love everybody, and we'll see everybody hopefully live in Scottsdale, and then see everyone soon. Thank you so much.